And good morning. Happy November 7th, 2020, 9 a.m. Central Time here. If you can hear me, let me know in the comments. Hit that like button. Let YouTube know you are interested in what's going on. Good morning, John, Brian, Richard, Rodney, Unky Joe. Audio is low. How's the audio now, Unky Joe? Everything good? Everything sounds good now? Yes, no, maybe? Let me know before we get too far into it. Good morning! There's Tony with Quick Tech. Audio's a bit low. All right, well, we'll just crank it up. How's that sound? Maybe I'm not talking across the mic correctly here. How's that? Is that better? Maybe I could talk a little louder. So, for those of you who were a little confused about the live stream that went live last night, wasn't actually live, was having a meeting with some pretty good guys. Don't tell them I said that. But Joe Trelli with Cajoling Tech, Tony with Quick Tech, and Unky Joe with Unky Joe's. And his name's not really Unky Joe, but I can't get away from Unky Joe. I wish I had a cool nickname like that. But we were just doing a little bit of a test. We were monkeying around, just having fun. We had a couple hours of great conversation last night. So I hope you all have next Saturday, November 14th at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. I hope you have your alarm clock set for that live stream. We're going to be simulcasting on 4 YouTube channels. I have a commercial that Joe Trelli made us, and I'm going to play it, and you let me know if you all can actually hear it. I've had to change some things around on my machine last night. The vocal processor, the batteries ran out, so Joe made us this. He made us this commercial. So I'm going to play it real quick. It's only 31 seconds, and you'll have to let me know if you can hear it. I don't know that you can. I don't think you can hear it. I'll come back to the comments in just a second. But regardless, we'll be throwing this up on the channel. And Joe threw this together. Joe is great with audio video stuff. Joe has helped me through designing some things with live streaming, and he's been an immense help in that regard. There was no volume, so I guess I better see what it sounds like before I just unleash it on everybody. So I'll play it where I can play sound, and we'll go from there. So a couple things I want to talk about. So you see on the title of the live stream, it's, what was it? It was check your equipment. And here is just a reminder. In certain parts of the world, certain parts of the United States, we're getting ready to head into cooler seasons. We're getting ready to head into snowy times, depending on where you're at. What we should do as people is be checking our equipment. And the reason that I say that is, even though you pay someone to maintain equipment, you want to make sure, and the guys that I was on the line with last night are probably listening to this going, oh no, we know where he had to be at 6:30 this morning, and it doesn't sound like it went so well. So there was a little bit of panic this morning. So we were at a facility where we were turning off, I think, a 400 amp service so they could hook solar panels in. And the theory was that when the building power was shut off by the power company, that the genset would kick on, power the data center, and that everything would be good. They cut the power, generator did not kick on. Now, the generator was supposed to have been serviced in July, and it runs once a week. It's supposed to run once a week, and so this is why starting Monday there'll be a whole new checklist and all kinds of stuff, because the genset didn't kick on, and if the power company wouldn't have had jumper cables and coolant, the project would have had to have been rescheduled this morning. So the generator that the company said that they serviced just in July had a dead battery and no coolant. So make sure you're double checking. I'm going to be making some phone calls and possibly writing a strongly worded letter on Monday because things could have went real bad. I mean, if we'd had a storm between when they said they serviced it and now, we'd have been in trouble. So check your stuff. Also, it's that time of year. If your smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors are not hardwired in, make sure you replace the batteries, check the batteries, make sure all of your stuff at home is working. Make sure if you've got, you'll have to do some research to see what kind of fire extinguishers you should have. But if you have fire extinguishers in your home, make sure they're still good. Make sure you're checking all of that safety equipment. It is very, very important. So let's go to the comments. Let's see. So Unky Joe says they stayed on the meeting until 10:30 last night discussing cameras and whatnot. That is amazing. Yeah, I think we got a real good group. I think there's room to probably add a couple other YouTubers to the group. I've got some people in mind, not for the live stream next weekend, but I think maybe Unky Joe and Tony and Joe, if you're listening, we could expand the group and we could just have like these maybe once a month conference calls just with us, just having fun, discussing tech and whatever comes to mind. Like you get a group of people that are not necessarily in front of the camera. The conversations are a little different. They're more passionate. They're more, I think we can really, have conversation without that outside judgment. And if you've got a good diverse group, I think you can have good conversation, and on certain things you can expand your understanding and you can move the ball forward. So looking forward to maybe adding some more people to that group. All right, somebody says, can you do a UniFi setup with a MikroTik integration? USG is the main firewall and MikroTik as a hotspot. I could, but as other YouTubers will tell you, sometimes, and we talked about this last night, and I think you all are really going to enjoy, Tony and Joe are just, they're great guys. Absolutely great guys. If you are not subscribed to Cajoling Tech, to Quick Tech with Tony, and to Unky Joe's Playhouse, do yourself a favor. After you're done watching here, go just do a quick search and subscribe to those guys. They're just, we've got a great group of people, and we're going to add some more people to it. Yeah, the conversation last night was just awesome, and I was kind of being a little silly, and the guys tolerated it. Not that we ever get silly here, right? But I am also planning probably some sort of a Thanksgiving live stream where we're going to throw the turkey on the smoker, and then while the turkey's on the smoker, then maybe we'll do some stuff in the garage. So Roblox Friends Forever says, sorry about the username. I make games on Roblox. I need help setting up Radius and UniFi and Guest and using a web page. Yeah, so good. If you have video suggestions, please go to willyhow.com, fill out the contact form, just put in there, just put video ideas. So I have a list of videos and, that I need to get done, but you can ask the other guys, life is busy. We're all doing things, and not all of us. I don't know that any of the four of us are full-time content creators, and even the other YouTubers that you watch are not full-time content creators. They are running other things, behind the scenes. And so while giving away free education is like in my top 3 things that have to happen for me to feel good about being like a human being, like spreading knowledge and helping people pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get educated, that is super important to me. But also taking care of my family, taking care of my career, all those other things. It is a super busy life. And it was funny because Joe Trelli from Cajoling was like, hey man, like you need to like not work so much and you need to make some changes. And so, we get into this like ethereal of, what do those things look like? And I do have some stuff where I'm gonna like tell some of the other people that I'm doing videos for, like I'm putting this on pause because there's some stuff for the holidays that I really want to do. So, but no, welcome this morning. So make sure if you've got generators and they're not air cooled, make sure you're checking the coolant. Make sure you're checking the battery. If you don't have a battery blanket on your home generator and you're living in a cold area, make sure that you have a battery blanket. Make sure your trickle charger's working. Check the batteries and connections to your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors. That's kind of the PSA for the day. All right, so let's take a look at Cambium Network. So Cambium is, and actually if you follow me on Twitter, there's this conversation that I'm in with Hostify and Riley Chase over there. I think Riley's a good guy. I think he's got a great business model, but seeing the direction that Ubiquiti has been going with things, if I was Riley, I would be looking to diversify the way that I make my money. I would not be wholly 100% in on Ubiquiti. Yes, their shares were up 20% on their earnings call and everything like that, but I will tell you that Wall Street people are much different than those of us who are installing this stuff. But if you look at like where they went with video, they had this great platform that anybody could run on their own hardware, and they went to Protect, where now you've got to buy the hardware. I would be super nervous that they're going to do the same thing with the Unify controller. And I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket, but the conversation came up, if they did that, people would be leaving. Here's the honest truth. People are leaving Ubiquiti anyway, and they're leaving in droves because of a myriad of issues. The support, you can't just rely on, people before they will pay for tech support. They want to try that free route first. And we love it that customers come to us, and we love helping people, and we've got a pretty high satisfaction rate. When you deal with as many people as we do, you're going to piss people off. It's inevitable. We just talk to so many people. The people that we don't give free help to, that are like, I need this, this, and this, and it's something that we would spend hours on. And we're like, you got to pay for that. Those people get pissed off. Even when you engage in paid consulting, if you don't have a written plan and you don't have expectations, timelines, and things like that, like written, and you're not agreeing on it, the party's still going to get mad. I've just had this, come up recently where I had a very disappointed customer, and I refunded their money, and it is what it is. And they said they're going to be on the internet telling people about me, and that's fine. But if you've worked with me, you understand, between me and the people who work with me, that we work very hard to make sure that you're satisfied, and we can't satisfy everybody. Everybody's expectations are different. And so we actually changed our terms and conditions because one of the expectations, and maybe a bad expectation that we set, was that you would always be working with me. And, I cannot guarantee that you are always going to work with me. So we were supposed to have updated our terms and conditions to say that there is not a guarantee that you will be working with me. And if Tim didn't get that put in there, he was supposed to do that. I'm looking at the terms and conditions right now. And then the other thing that we are talking about is, Tim has not updated the terms and conditions. Tim, if you're listening, we need to get those terms and conditions updated to say that you will not necessarily be working with Willie, because I've had a few people get upset that they've paid for consulting time and then they're not working directly with me. And that's just not possible. There are certain hours that I can't do consulting right now. And, we're blessed. We are truly blessed that people, want to use the service. And so we're booked almost out to December at this point with the holidays and everything like that. So, it's an interesting issue to have to deal with. And so, the customer had an issue, and it's very clear in our terms and conditions that we don't offer emergency service. Now, James is in the chat. I don't know if Tim's in the chat or not. But we have talked about what does it look like if we can, provide some sort of an SLA, some sort of a guaranteed, turnaround. What's that look like? Do we have to have more consultants on board? What's that look like? And I think, we're trying to formulate what that looks like, because we tell people we don't do emergency service. But I mean, you can ask James in the chat, verify this. Like, if somebody has a voice over IP problem, James gets to it very quickly, sometimes the same day. It's not guaranteed that that's going to happen, but we try our very best. And, when you've got a worldwide audience, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it's a very fine line. And I can guarantee you that I'm not the only person that has this issue. I had talked to Tom Lawrence a little bit about it, and he has people that do the same thing, and he handles it a little bit differently than I do. I just, at some point, once we've decided to terminate that business relationship, I just walk away and I don't respond any longer. And there's no need to add, fuel to the fire or whatever. But, just a little bit of a brain dump there. But I'm going to have to ping Tim, and I'm going to have to ping Tim and be like, hey, man, I need you to remember to update the terms and conditions. In fact, y'all are going to watch me do this thing here. Hey, man, can we get the terms and conditions updated today to say that there's no guarantee that you'll work with Willie Howe? Thanks, man! Exclamation point. I love voice to text, and I just figured out how to put a new blank line, right? IT person, just figuring that out. Kind of crazy, but all right. So we kind of, I do work with a lot of other consultants. So, in the group that you're going to see, I've worked with Unky Joe. Unky Joe does consulting. Joe Trelli from Cajoling doesn't do consulting so much. He does. He has a huge knowledge of audio, video, and stuff like that. And I told him that he should start doing that. But then Tony and I have gone from Quick Tech, have gone back and forth. Sometimes Tom Lawrence will refer things to me. I'll refer things to Tom Lawrence. We're bringing Sean Woods on board for the Unify Meraki side. I've got some folks in Chicago that I want to talk to. So yeah, we're trying to get as many people on board as we can. And build that network. But the thing is, putting your stamp on somebody else's name can be a challenge, right? Because not everybody's going to handle the clients the way that I would handle it. And so, we do pen testing, Theo. We do pen testing. And we do it a couple different ways. So one way is we can create a VPN. Well, we do outside first. And we use a lot of tools that are built into Kali Linux, and then we use some paid tools. But what we do first is we do a software scan, and then anything that gets found with the software, then we have a human follow-up on that. But we do it from the outside. Then we can either do a VPN into your network, or we have an appliance. They're Mac Mini based, and we load that up. We send it to your facility, and then we blast it from the inside. So let's see here. You know what? I knew I forgot something. Check this out. And Willie said, "Let there be light." Oof. All right, so let's hop over. I want to talk about Cambium. And Cambium's got some pretty interesting stuff. They sent me over one of their 2.5 gigabit APs, which is actually a Wi-Fi 6 AP. And I didn't have a switch to, let's see, do they have their switches here? Products, enterprise, Wi-Fi, and switching. So they are sending over a 2.5 gigabit switch, which would be this one right here. I have no idea what the MSRP is. You're going to see a video on it. So, by the way, I am Cambium. If you find their, I'm not a certified instructor yet. I would love to do that. But somewhere there is this, Cambium, professionals. Let's see here. Cambium consultants. I don't know if that's Cambium let's see. So if you are looking for, a WISP solutions with Cambium, you can find the people on this list. So it's Dennis down in St. Louis, and Joshavin, I think I'm pronouncing that right. There's Justin Wilson. I've referred some of you to him, and then here I am. And so we are all Cambium professionals and can design and install. Cambium will actually do that for you. They won't do the install, but they'll do all the architecting as well. So, but this is a great program, and Cambium is just super solid stuff. And between Cambium and Grandstream, I'm going to be honest, like Ubiquiti is losing a lot of ground to both of these vendors. But this is the switch. So it's got 14 PoE enabled ports at 802.3 AF AT BT. So it's got 830 watts and 660 watt. It'll do 86 gigabits of throughput. It's got 2 10 gig uplink ports and 6 up to 2.5 gigabit ports. So we're going to be testing this out, and we're actually going to put the QNAP NAS on this, because the QNAP NAS has the 2.5 gigabit port. So we're going to be able to test Wi-Fi 6 to that. We're also going to be able to test, Wi-Fi 6 to 10 gig and all that good stuff. So that is coming very soon. I have no idea what the MSRP is on this. I want to thank them for sending this over to pair it up. So you're going to see that, but their switches. Okay. So let's talk about like the difference between some of like a Ubiquiti switch and like a Cambium switch, right? So Cambium switches, you do not have to have a controller for these. Now, you can join them to CN Maestro, right? And CN Maestro can be in the cloud, which Cambium hosts at no charge to you. Now, they do have a pro version, which enables you to do some more in-depth reporting and things like that. Or you can host CN Maestro on-prem. They provide a virtual image and the whole bit. So you can roll this out very easily. I've been working with a restaurant group who has a lot of restaurants who are Ubiquiti and Cambium. We called up Cambium. Actually, we sent them an email. And it was like, hey, I've got this restaurant group. They've got X amount of locations. This is how many APs they have. So Cambium sent 5 access points and 1 switch. And late last week in the evening, we got 2 of the sites set up. They were going to be deployed. And so far, it sounds like they're going to rip all the Ubiquiti access points out and replace it with all Cambium. So we'll see how that works out. But if you haven't seen the information on this, I mean, it's these are some the features. Now, of course, I haven't punished these switches, right? So I haven't just put tons and tons and tons of traffic through them yet on site. I know people who are running these and they just keep running day in and day out, right? But the features that these have, if we look at, let's see here. So you got 4,000 VLANs, you've got 4,000 port-faced VLANs, you've got trunking, QoS, PVRST, you've got ingress, egress, ACLs, static ARP entries, static routes, dynamic routing, IGMP, multicast works, policy-based automation. Now, when we talk about that routing, these switches will do OSPF version 2, and they will do RIP 1 and RIP 2. Now, if you're using RIP, you're probably using RIP 2 because I believe RIP 1 has been depreciated. RIP is one of the easiest dynamic routing protocols to set up. So, real quick, let's do this. I am going to flip over. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to flip over. All right. First one to type is going to be a winner. I don't know what we're going to give away. maybe just a kudos or whatever. Okay. What is the difference between a routing protocol and a routed protocol? And go. Put it in the comments. I know the answer. I'll validate you if you're right. But, oh, hey, Joe Trelli's here. Yeah, Theo, we've got a whole methodology for pen testing, and it doesn't stop with software, because you're going to hear a lot of people talking about, well, we do this with software, we do that with software. We actually get into the policy side of it as well, right? Because all of the technology in the world one person in your organization can undo all of that, right? So you have to have policies, procedures in place that have teeth in them. You have to have organizational structure. It's not just all about the technology. It's also about people management, and we also do that. So we do all kinds of stuff. And I'm glad that you're a pen tester. That's awesome. We could have some offline conversations definitely about this, because we have a whole methodology. And so for the last, 2020? For the last 10 years, I've been deeply involved in PCI compliance. It takes up over 50% of my time. And sometimes it takes up more than that. So like Q2 of this year, it took a couple months to do some remediation on some things. Yes. So where my frustration with traditional vendors lies, Theo, is that a lot of these vendors that were paying for these compliance scans, and this is kind of the way that I come at it, they just want to use the software, right? So they may not look at, let's say they know that you're running Apache 2.4, right? And they don't know that it's running on an Ubuntu server, and Ubuntu has patched it, right? So they don't look at that patch level. They just see, okay, you're running Apache 2.4. Okay, red flag, you're failed right there. Doesn't take some of these other things into account, because it's software automated scans only, and they're making piles of cash off of this compliance just off of running these scans and just turning around this report. There's no human follow-up and things like that. And we always do a human follow-up unless it is requested in writing that we don't. You just want to scan from our software, then we will do that. But I do not feel good about that at all. I am frustrated with the status quo of pen testers who just run software, collect a check, and then run off. You're really not doing the client much. And then you want to charge an absorbent amount of money. And I'm all about, making money and a decent living and all that. But like, it seems like a lot of this compliance stuff is just a huge cash grab. And that's wrong, because you're not providing any value to the client. So we can talk about that, Theo. We can have all kinds of ethereal about that. Yeah, Bob Carpenter says, even TP-Link is coming after Ubiquiti. Check out the Omada line for them. They have a cloud key-like device. Yeah, TP-Link's coming on hard, and Genius. And it's funny, because I'm working with an ISP that is actually using the Edge Router Infinity, and they use the Ubiquiti OLTs and that whole. But for their managed routers, they're actually using Orbi, because Netgear Orbi has an MSP portal, and it's a really beautiful. It's actually great. And I'm going to post some pictures of some Netgear switches and stuff. We're pulling some Cisco out, and Ubiquiti didn't make the cut at all. They were not even considered for this project. So just because of some of the problems that have been happening. I'm not saying that Ubiquiti is not a good fit for some things, but you got to look at everything when you're building these networks, and they just didn't cut the muster on this one, because it was just replacing switches and then some APs. All right, Jacob Johnson says, in your pen testing experience, have you ever encountered zero tier for slipping through firewalls? It's almost impossible to filter out. On that note, have you found a way to actually block it? No, we have not. We actually had about an hour and a half conversation about zero tier yesterday. We're talking about some two-factor authentication stuff with Duo. And even though Cisco bought Duo, their prices are still very affordable. We'll talk about that here in a second. I've opened that so we can flip over to that. Unky Joe says, Theo, Theo, at any point, if I said anything about pen testing that you disagree with, please put it in the comments, because this is a conversation as professionals we should all be having. If these government organizations who are getting ransomed and they don't have proper backups and they don't have user education and things like that, I mean, there's a huge problem if they're paying a consultant to provide these types of services, and it's a whole. I have a very much need to be more outspoken about bad vendors than what I am. And that's in an industry that is really still the wild, wild west and is still going through expansion all the time. And we still have the lowest unemployment in IT. Yeah. And Theo, absolutely. Pen testing is not the same thing as a PCI scan, right? So on our pen testing, we will look for very specific applications. We will look for things like WordPress. We will look for open SQL, and then we will try to exploit those things and see, if we can actually get an exploit to run, get us in, or can we run code, things like that. But I will tell you that there are vendors out there who will just run a PCI scan for the pen testing, right? So I would really like to do some red teaming stuff, but I would only want to do it in an organization that has been properly trained. It is not fair to walk into an organization where the end users have had zero training, because you're going to decimate. I mean, you're going to find all kinds of stuff, right? So really, we got to educate the users first and then do some red team stuff. And I actually talked about it with a local municipality. We were talking about doing some of that stuff, but back to the question here. Unky Joe says, Willie, how Cambium looks interesting. Where does the control software reside? So Unky Joe, you can manage Cambium devices a few different ways. You can manage them locally, individually. Now, one access point, I think, can manage 50 access points. So you can manage them individually. You can manage them like that. You can manage them with CN Maestro. CN Maestro you can get for free. You can host it for free on the Cambium cloud, or you can download the software and you can host it free on your own hardware. Simon says, routing protocol is between routers. Zach N says, a routed protocol is a protocol. A routed protocol is a protocol by which data can be routed, while a routing protocol is only used between routers. So Zach, and Simon, you are correct. Like I think 50% of the you're almost there, right? So a routed protocol would be something that can be routed, like NetBEUI. Drawing a blank off the top of my head, but it would be protocols that can be routed, right? So you were right there. But yeah, routing is what makes things work. So you have BGP, OSPF, ISIS, or ISIS, or whatever. I think it's pronounced ISIS though. EIGRP, static routing, things like that. Hey, SatVision. Simon says, so this is what you sound like in real time. Normally only listen at 2x. What? I don't know how to take that. What direction do you think Wi-Fi hotspot portals will go in the brave new world of randomized MAC addresses? I don't know, but there is actually some fixes. There are some fixes available. I know people have problems with hotspots, getting them to work correctly. A lot of time it's because we don't have proper URLs whitelisted before people go to the hotspot. So there's some URLs you have to make sure are whitelisted in your portal to make sure that the pop-up screen works properly. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how people handle this. And Tim handles most of the portal stuff, but it's actually been a while since I've set up a portal myself. And there are a lot of people that do it better than some of the built-in stuff. And I know some co-working spaces that use a hosted platform, and they seem to love it. All right, let's hop back over to the Switch. So yeah, I want to thank Cambium again for sending this out, because I'm super excited about this. I'm going to throw it in the rack. I also have, let me see real quick. Is it Patchbox? If you go to Patchbox, this dev mount, I have a sample of this coming. Their U.S. distributor is sending me a sample. Now, what is a sample of Dev Mount, right? It is literally 2 of these so you can mount a single device. But check this out. This Dev Mount is like a hybrid between click nuts and rack studs. So if click nuts and rack studs had a baby, this is what this is what we would have, right? So look at this. It is like the best of both worlds. So you get the stud, you get the click, and so then one person can still very easily mount that hardware. I am super excited about this. So we're going to do a side-by-side of this and the click nuts and the rack studs, because this really is like, this is a great option. And if you look at their video here, let's see, man, that is poor quality. Let's see. So you can see, yeah, look at this guy putting this in the rack. I mean, that is beautiful. And it was only a matter of time before somebody came up with something like this. And by the way, does anybody know what kind of switch that is? I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but somebody tell me what kind of switch that is. Oh, it's an Allied Telesin. Yeah, I know some of you use that, but I am super excited to get this. We're going to show this off, and they're not really that expensive. I want to say for a 50 pack, it's like $50. You have $49.90, and so really, it's not that bad at all. And Jacob, if you're still in there, I know you've got a full-size rack for me. I can't remember. Is this going to work in the full-size rack, or is that pre-drilled and tapped? Let me know about that. Let's see here. Simon says, don't worry, I listen to everyone at 2-speed, not just you. Yeah, I listen to myself at 2-speed. In fact, it's very difficult, and anybody else in here who makes YouTube videos, chime in and let me know. But like, it's very difficult for me to listen to me. Like, I know I talk a lot and things like that, but like, it's very difficult for me to listen to me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but Dark Side said something about public keys. Not sure where that's at. Yeah, Allied Telesis. And SatVision, I think that's you, right? That tags me on Twitter and is trying to get Allied to send some switches out for a review. I don't know what they're scared of. Some people literally, when I talk to them and I tell them that I'm going to compare their product against another product, it's radio silence. Crickets. I get nothing else back at all. A lot of places don't want to be compared. So Tim wrote me back, and he's going to get the terms and conditions upgraded. Yeah, and all of us here in Central Illinois, this weather today is going to be beautiful. It's going to be like 70-some degrees and sunny. So like, I also Tim plans on cleaning the yard. Yeah, I plan on doing some cleanup outside and take advantage of that. So we're going to take the new dog. We got to go to Home Depot. So the new dog's going to go with us. So that'll be good. And get her out, get her socialized and things like that. Yeah, Unky Joe's down in the Texas area, and he says it's going to be 79 down there today. 79 degrees, November 7th, right? Today is the 7th, November 7th. But Unky Joe, I'm assuming that your weather is usually pretty consistent down there year round. Yeah, so like today we're going to be a high of 73, then tomorrow 75, Monday 76, Tuesday high of 70 with rain. Then on Veterans Day, we're going to have a 20-degree swing. It's only going to be a high of 50. And then Thursday be 53. That's on Thursday. Then Friday, a high near 50. So it looks like we are going to be on the decline of the warm weather. So Unky Joe should be out taking care or out in that pool. Maybe it might be a little cool for the pool, but Nick says it's 83 in South Florida, windy, overcast, tropical storm coming. when we were in Florida a couple of years ago, I absolutely loved it. And somebody was like, "Oh, you'll get down there, it'll rain like clockwork, it'll last like an hour." I'm like, "Come on!" And like literally, like it rained for like a half hour, 45 minutes where we were at in the afternoon, and the rest of the day was beautiful. It was absolutely crazy, and I loved it. We were down around Orlando, down around in the Disney area, and I absolutely loved it. The whole area I think is laid out beautifully. Somebody asked, do you have clients in the Philippines? We have clients all over. I'd have to go back and look specifically, but if we didn't have clients, or if at least had communication with someone in the Philippines, it would definitely surprise me. And Joe from Cajoling, you see, he loves listening to himself. He puts his videos on to fall asleep. All right, so let's talk about two-factor authentication. So even though Duo was purchased by Cisco, and in fact, before we get too far down the Duo line, let me ask all of you out there, is there an alternative to Duo that will give us all of the same functionality as Duo without being tied to Cisco? If you've got something, put it in the comments and we'll check it out here on the live stream. But here's the reason why I like Duo, is because it provides all types of two-factor besides just you can do hard keys, you can do soft keys, you can do SMS, you can do, this provides, if we are talking about building, if we're talking about a place where we have to use this and you have users from all types, all walks of life, and you have to make sure that your technology solutions are equitable. Let's talk about this, because even though we know SMS, two-factor authentication, has some flaws, it is still better than not having two-factor authentication. And look, 80% of security breaches involve compromised passwords. And if you had two-factor authentication turned on, Microsoft did a report on this last year that said that 85% of all data breaches could have been prevented had two-factor authentication been used. And I am hooked, line, and sinker. I totally believe that. The other thing that Duo can do is, if you don't want to do text messaging, it can do a callback. And you might be familiar with that. Your bank may provide that callback service where when you go to log into your bank account from a bank or from a computer that you don't have the cookie stored on, which, by the way, in Windows 10, after the updates, it blows them out anyway, blah, blah. Anyway, that's another story. The bank can actually call you, and then you can hear the code. Duo can do that. So Duo can do a callback. It can do SMS. It can do hard tokens. It can do the software-based. And it is actually not that expensive. So if you look at, you can do free for up to 10 users using security keys, U2F, OTP, phone callback, SMS, and hardware tokens. Free, up to 10 users. Now, there's probably, I haven't done the 10 user yet. There's probably something here. Self-service subscription and Duo free customers that want MFA using callback should contact support. So it looks like there might be something with that callback, but you can do it free for 10 users. So, but then if you start looking at this, like $3 per user per month, or even the $6 or $9, right? So let's say that you're a store. Let's say that you are a meat processing shop. Let's say that you are a butcher shop, right? Let's say you've got 40 employees. They've all got email and all that, and you're a prominent local brand. And I'm totally making this up on the fly, so if it doesn't make any sense, just let me know, right? But let's say you've got 40 employees, and all of your stuff can be two-factor authentication, email, logging into Windows, all that stuff. $3 per month, so it's $120 per month to provide two-factor authentication. That's, let's see, let's run the math on this. I can't math at the moment. 120 times 12, that's $1,440 a year. $1,440 a year. If you have a data breach and now you have to disclose that you've had a data breach, not only do you take brand reputation damage, people will avoid you. PCI Pal did a study, and people will avoid you. If you have a data breach, they will avoid you. And if you're a small mom and pop shop, they may avoid you long enough. I mean, it could be detrimental to your business. So is $1,440 a year worth it to say that you've done as much as you can to take care of 80 to 85% of the data breaches, right? Like, I think that is actually a deal. Let's go to the comments and see if anybody has anything besides Duo. Let's see. If I were ever to, Unky Joe says, if he was to leave Texas, it would be for Florida. Yeah, it keeps you in a lot of the same things down there. YubiKeys are good. I have a YubiKey here that I bought before we moved last year, and I don't have it deployed. Joe sent me a YubiKey sticker, and I need to get that put on. But yeah, any type of next weekend is the quartet. It's not a trio, it's a quartet. YubiKeys, any type of two-factor authentication is better than not having two-factor authentication. But I don't think YubiKey by itself will provide everything you need. And maybe it will. Products. So it looks like they do have enterprise services. But this, to me, I'm looking at, these days, anytime we want to roll a service out and you have a diverse workforce, you need to have a diverse offering, and I can't just do YubiKeys all over the place. I need to be able to have equitable access. And so we have to really be conscious about that and really think about that. So, but definitely YubiKeys, I've got one, and they've come a long way just in the last couple of years. So anybody have anything besides YubiKey and Duo? Put it in the comments, because I really want to hear what we've got going on. Yeah, next weekend, mark your calendars. In fact, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to listen to the commercial, make sure Joe didn't do anything crazy in there, and then I'm going to post it on the channel for next weekend. It's going to be fun. It's a good group of fellas. So what's coming this week? So last week I was supposed to get the iSCSI videos out for Synology. Did not get to that yet. It is on my list, and I have a lot of things on my list. As content creators can tell you, guys, back me up in the comments. Like, we all have a lot of ideas, but it's sometimes I will tell you, sometimes we get discouraged, right? Because of the feedback. And sometimes we don't know what's going to hit, and sometimes only one person wants to see things. So we try to get as big of a reach and help as many people as we can, and sometimes that's difficult. But sometimes just getting to stuff that you have on your list is also difficult. I think I'm going to employ a new tactic where I am going to record, and I've tried this before, and I don't know how it would work out long term, but where, like, at night, I only record the screen and go through all the motions of what I'm doing on the screen. And then I will, like, maybe film the intro on my way somewhere, and then film the outro as well, and then do a voiceover on the video and see how that works out. That may be able to help me, get some consistency back out there with the timing on the videos. But I don't run Unraid, but I know what Unraid is, and I have worked on Unraid servers. So, yeah. Any more questions in the comments? By the way, Bob Carpenter, I found the MikroTik SFP Plus modules that I found the MikroTik SFP Plus modules that do multi-gig, and I've got to try to get some of those on order. So we'll have to see how that works out. My supplier actually has 0 in stock, and then the next closest supplier to me has 0 in stock. I may have to end up ordering from Amazon. Not 100% sure on that, but we'll see how that goes. And then the guys last night got to see my office, and it was kind of funny. Oh, Tony says that he has moved to that same model that I've been talking about. He says, it's been working well for me, allows me to stay a few weeks ahead of myself in the event there's a week I can't get up in the studio. Yeah, these guys all understand the importance of providing, making sure that we are putting consistent videos out. And the thing is, if you look at some channels, your videos, anyway, as long as you're consistent, you know what I mean? It seems to be that's what attracts the algorithm. Bob says, make sure they have the modern firmware. Oh, you'll likely get new stuff. Okay, so I'll check that out. So if I were to just do videos that only made me happy, right now, those videos would consist of me playing Among Us, which last night I was trying to go to sleep. And if you, and Joe and Tony, I actually got invited by a network admin friend of mine. He made a post on Facebook, and they posted the private server key for Among Us. So I ended up getting sucked into that for a little bit, which, by the way, if you haven't all played Among Us, it is actually a really fun game. And it's by a company called Inner Sloth. And there's 4 to 10 players, and you have it says one crewmate has been replaced by a parasitic shapeshifter, and it's called the Imposter. And so you have all of these different tasks that you're supposed to do, and there's like this task meter, and it fills up. Well, if you're the Imposter, your task is to go around and sabotage the ship and to kill everybody and to win. But they tell you which fake task that you can do. So as a group, you have to figure out who's suspect, and it's fun. Like, I didn't think that I would like it. I don't play many games on my phone, and my kids were like, you really need to try this. And I'm like, okay. And I tried it, and it is absolutely a blast. I at night, when I want to like chill out, I play this because it doesn't take a lot of thought, but you do have to kind of like watch people. But it's actually pretty fun. Yeah, if anybody else plays that, yeah, Roblox says that they love it. Charper 989 says, what are you using for your core distribution switches in your campus style networks? So it depends. Yeah, we don't use Ubiquity a lot. We're moving to obviously Cisco Extreme provides. Now they're like going like SDN or like fabric based across switches, and there's Extreme, there's Juniper, things like that. So but I will tell you that the Cambium switches are now you bring up the ARP cache limit that hinders the VLAN routing on Ubiquity. I think that, are you sure that Cambium has the same limitation? I thought it was 400 on, I thought it was 400 MAC addresses on the Edge stuff. Is it 400 MAC addresses on this? MAC address size table, 16K across the board there, 4K. Okay, ARP entries, yeah, 512. So I don't know if Ubiquity's at, for some reason I thought Ubiquity was at 400. If that's not right, put it in the comments. So it looks like there is a little bit of it does look like there's a limit there. So, but most of the time you're going to see, we're going to use Cisco Juniper Extreme. I want to get into Arista. I'm looking at the Mellanox stuff. I've been thinking about buying some used Mellanox stuff on eBay for 40 gig. If you follow me, I posted a link to a 100 gig Mellanox switch of, I think it's 38. It's either 36 or 38 100 gig ports. So the switch has a total of 7.2 terabits per second switching fabric. And so what's funny about that, let's pull up. So like, let's say that a Blu-ray is 50 gigabytes. Let's pull up the Google machine here. How long does it take? Which, by the way, it is always fun to see the Google search results like in your area. If you just start like typing stuff and it autofills, this will crack me up a lot of times. How long does it take to transfer 50 gigabytes at 7.2 terabits per second? So it should bring up, can we get a, here, let's see here. Network transfer calculator. Now, obviously, we can only do 100 gigabits on that port, per port. So let's just use 100 gigabit. Let's just use a 100 gigabit port. Now, obviously, there's going to be all kinds of other bottlenecks in that, you know, the disks, the controllers. There's all kinds of bottlenecks, but so this is kind of like nice, like vacuum. This is like nice vacuum type, you know, real or non-real world, like theoretical. That's what I'm trying to get at. All right, so our data is going to be 50 gigabytes. We'll just say 50. If I'm wrong on that amount, let me know, but I think it's around 50, 55. Now, our transfer rate, we're going to do gigabits, so that would be... So we can't even do... Okay, so yeah, we got to do 100 gigabits. That's what we said we were going to do. Now, there's a difference between transmission and storage, right? Can I use the mouse slider? I can. All right, so in theory, you can transfer an entire Blu-ray DVD between two machines on that port in 5 seconds. And that is wicked fast. And there's all kinds of, you're probably never going to see that in the real world. You might. I'm sure somebody has some ultra low latency setup, you know, that can actually do that. But it was just, I like messing around with those numbers. It's really just, it's fun just to calculate the numbers to see kind of what is what. All right, so back to the comments real quick. Microcom Technologies, who is one of my partners, one of my resellers. Good morning, Willie. We've got some flavors of the TIC SFP modules in stock. We're also getting the new DAC cables that support both SFP 1 gig and SFP plus 10 gig. So I'm not sure who is behind the Microcom Technologies YouTube. Shoot me an email, please, because I do need to order. If you've got, there is the... it's like SJJ-10 or something like that, but it's the, and you had 0 in stock when I looked on the portal, and it's the one that can do 1 gig, 2.5, 5 gig, and 10 gig. That's the one that I'm interested in. So, all right, let's see here. Oh yeah, and 25 gig SFP 28 standard. I'm going to need to get a switch. Can SFP, somebody answer me this? I don't 100% sure know, because I haven't looked into it, but can an SFP plus module do the 25 gig, or do we have to have a QSFP slot for that? Can somebody answer that for me in the chat, please? The question is, can an SFP plus slot do the 25 gig, or is that QSFP, which leads us up to 40 gig? Somebody put that in the, if somebody could answer that in the live chat, that would be fantastic. Yeah, so a lot of people love Docker and the controllers and things like that. I prefer to just have a VM and run that stuff natively. And cajoling tech, no, Among Us is not what manifests my imposter syndrome. There's a lot of things that go into imposter syndrome, and if any of you have it, you know that it's something that it gnaws at you. Sometimes. And, you know, my dad was a great man, and my dad provided for our family. And when you get to that point where you do better, then, and it's relative, right? So like my dad was always easygoing. He was always laid back. He was a great guy, but he loved his family, and you didn't mess with his family. You don't mess with my family either, but like, there are things that I character traits that I don't have that my dad had that I would think make him a greater person than me. But like, so like when I say you do better, like, financially and career wise, like, when you make more than what your parents did, like it's a very weird feeling. And when doors open up for you that you didn't have growing up and those doors didn't open for them, sometimes it feels like you're lost. You're like in the wrong place. Is this even right? And then you realize, sometimes how hard you really worked. And I don't know, it's this whole weird thing. But I think that I know I'm definitely not alone, because it is definitely a topic of conversation amongst security people and things like that on Twitter. But yeah, so I am going to be filming the videos that I need to get out. I've got some special QNAP stuff that's coming, so check that out. And yeah, any more questions? It is 10:03, and if there's no more questions, I think we're going to. Unky Joe says, my dad fought in World War II, lived through the Depression, and worked hard his whole life. I know nothing about about suffering compared to him. That's right? So we stand on the shoulders of giants. And so all of these people who did things that when we look at it, it's like, oh my God, these accomplishments, these things that they did, they shaped and changed the world. Like these people changed the course of human history, right? Like it is like, man, it is like mine. We all need to have an adult beverage if you're allowed to do that. Joe Trelli, I think I don't want you to go back to rehab, so you can't probably participate in that. But because I would hate to be the reason that you like fell off the wagon, like that whole Ozzy Osbourne story where he sniffed a line of red ants with Aerosmith. I don't even know if that's true, but I don't want to be the reason you start sniffing red ants, Joe Trelli. But all of these people who did these things that we all learn about, that shifted and shaped human history, and then we think about what we're doing, and it's like, so I totally get that, Unky Joe, totally get it. Lewis asks, hi Willie, is it worth getting the training for the UEWA since some are moving away from Ubiquity? So the UEWA, I have that certification, and I will tell you that the one that I took only talks about wireless, and it assumes that you know quite a bit about being a network administrator, a network architect to a certain degree when you take it. Now, I am thinking about, I know you keep hearing me say it, but I'm thinking about doing training sessions and things like that. A lot of people get hung up on not having that certification at the end of the training, right? So, but anybody who's ever had training with me, you can ask them. We provide way more value in our training, but you don't get that certification. I cannot certify you because Ubiquity's certification, I have to do a ton of things to become a certified trainer. And it, in my opinion, and Microcom, close your ears, but I believe that the Ubiquity training certifications is a money grab because you have to work through a partner. You have to provide at the beginning training, at no charge. You have to buy training kits, and there's all of these like requirements. And before Corey Fallow used to work over at Ubiquity, Corey was the head of, I don't know if she was the head of support or if she was the head of elite support out in Utah, and Ubiquity actually exchanged some access points for me that we had some problems with at a client. And when they made this arrangement for me, she emails me and she's like, "Are you really Willie Howe?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm really Willie Howe." And she goes, "Oh my God, I watched all of your videos before I interviewed for this job." And I'm like, that's awesome, right? So like, if you take a look at the content that we put out, I mean, we are going above and beyond what these certification classes are training. So I may get to a point where I put together a syllabus and share it publicly, and we talk about what we're going to do. And I might do that training. I'm waiting for COVID restrictions. I'm waiting. You know, we were like kind of like flat, I think, and now we're like doing this. And so some of that in-person training that we have to do for like Grandstream, because the training, the professional certification has to be done in person, and it has to testing. I have to proctor the exams, and I can't do that with the group limitations. So we're talking about like, how far do we push that out? What's that look like? What do you do? You know, do you do 5 people at a time for 2 days so you can, you know, socially distance? Like, there's a whole lot of things that go into providing that and being responsible, right? So, but the Ubiquity stuff, we could do webinar style. We could, So yeah, my pinky is messed up. Joe Trelli, thanks for making me self-conscious about it. When I was probably 14 years old, got into a fight with somebody and hit him in the head and broke my pinky, and it never got set right, so it acts all kinds of weird and crazy. Yeah, enough about my pinky. But yeah, so like I would think like if we did like a 5-day training, like 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, that's 20 hours, you know, I think we can do this. I think we can do this webinar style. And everybody always says that they're interested in training. So one of these days I'm going to surprise you, and we are, I'm going to put it out there and see, because everybody tells me they're interested in training, but when you have to pay for it and the rubber meets the road, are people like actually really interested in it? We'll see. Yeah, so absolutely. All right, well, I want to thank all of you for being here with me. I've got to get cleaned up. We got to go to the post office. We got to go to Home Depot with the dog. We got to pick up some stuff. We got to get out in the yard while it's nice. I've got a ton of email I got to answer. I got to make sure, you know, that the genset thing, you know, went off. All kinds. Busy Saturday. Calls tonight. I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks to the Tech Quartet guys. I am going to listen to this video, and then I'm going to post that commercial. So I want to thank you all for being here. If you need IT consulting, go to williehowe.com. If you just want to reach out and say hi, you can go down and fill out that form. As always, I want to thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.